Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience. In today's video, we'll be making this beautiful sleeveless shift dress with a deep v-neck and a high slit. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. I'll be using this black crepe fabric. It is 1 yard. I will also be using this crepe fabric. It is 2 yards, and I'll be drafting on this pattern paper. I've gone ahead to mark my shoulder line. Right on the shoulder line, I'll mark half of my shoulder width, which is 8 inches. I'll take out 1 inch because it is a sleeveless dress. That is 7 inches, and I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. And from this 1 inch, I'll mark my chest line, which is 8 inches. Because it is a sleeveless dress, I'll be taking out ½ inch, so I'll be marking 7.5 inches. In order to get a straight line, I'll mark from the shoulder, that is 8.5 inches. I'll be using 4.5 inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth on the back piece, I'll be using 5 inches. I'll be using this pattern to cut out both the front and the back pieces. I'll slant the shoulder this way, and I'll mark my shoulder to bust point, which is 10.5 inches. And I'll mark my shoulder to waist, which is 17 inches. I'll bring down the shoulder measurement to the chest line and connect it to this 1 inch. I'll mark the midpoint of this line, and for the back armhole I'll go in by ½ inch, and for the front armhole I'll go in by 3/4 inch. I'll mark quarter of my bust circumference plus 1 inch for side seam. I'll mark the same measurement here on the bust line and curve the front and the back arm side. For the front neck depth, I'll be using my shoulder to bust point, which is 10.5 inches. And make the v-neck for the back and the front neckline. I'll mark quarter of my waist circumference plus ½ inch for ease and 1 inch for side seam, and connect the points this way. Now the full length of this gown is going to be 60 inches plus hemming allowance, so I have about 50 inches here. Okay, so I'll just be marking that on the pattern. I'll be adding the remaining 10 inches on my fabric. This is an A-line gown, so on the hem, I'll be adding extra 6 inches to quarter of my hip circumference, that is 11 inches, plus 6, that is 17 inches. I'll be adding 1 inch for side seam, that is 18 inches. So I'll mark the 18 inches on the hem this way and connect it to the waist. I'll be cutting out the back neckline, adding ½ inch on the shoulder for sewing allowance, and I'll also be cutting out the back arm side. So if you're cutting this directly on your fabric, to know the amount of fabric to fold is to add 7 inches to quarter of your hip circumference. I'll be cutting this out on fold for the back piece, adding ½ inch on the neckline for sewing allowance. I've done that, adding the extra 10 inches I said I was going to add. This is the 50 inches plus 10, that is 60 inches plus hemming allowance. So on the hem, I measured the 18 inches and connected it and cut it out. On the neckline, I'll be taking out 1 inch. So I'll mark 1 inch as shown. Okay, I'll replace this 1 inch with the black plain fabric, making a design on the neckline. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut it out. This is what it looks like. Like I said, I am going to be replacing the 1 inch, creating a design on the back neckline. So I'll keep it aside and cut out the arm side on the front piece and the neckline. Here on the front piece, I'll also be taking out 1 inch on the neckline. So starting from the shoulder here, I'll mark 1 inch down to the hem. Okay, so I'll be replacing this back with the plain black fabric. Okay, creating like a design. On the center front, So I'll blend this part, as you can see, and cut it out. On my fabric, I'll be cutting out ×2, and I'll add ½ inch on the neckline down to the hem for sewing allowance. I've done that, as you can see. I also added the 10 inches on the hem. This is what it looks like. Like I said, I'll replace the 1 inch using the black fabric, creating a design on the center front. I've gone ahead to cut it out. Okay, so I cut it out on fold, and this is 1.5 inches. I'll use the ½ inch for sewing allowance. Okay, so the length is the 60 inches, which is the length of the gown. To cut out like a facing on the arm side, I've gone ahead to place the arm side on the plain fabric. As you can see, I'll just trace out the arm side, and I'll be using 1.5 inches for the facing. So I'll mark 1.5 inches round, as you can see me do, and cut it out. The plain black fabric was on fold, so I cut out 2 pieces for the back piece. So what I'm going to do is to place the right side on the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, the right side of the facing on the wrong side of the bodice. I'll be sewing by 1/4 inch. After doing that, I'll turn it to the right side, fold in 1/4 inch, and make a top stitch. So I'll be doing that also on the front piece. For the design on the center front, remember I cut out 2 pieces of this 1.5 inches, which is 60 inches length. I'll be placing the right size this way and mark ½ inch for sewing allowance on the shoulder. Okay, so from the shoulder, I'll be marking the neck depth. Remember I used my shoulder to bust point, which is 10.5 inches for the neck depth. So this is the 10.5 inches. Okay, so I'll be marking from this 10.5 inches, I'll be marking where my slit will stop. So I'll be marking 35 inches. My slit is going to stop at this point. Okay, so I'll sew from this 10 inches to the 35 inches, placing the right size together like I said. I'll be sewing on the midpoint from this 10 inches to the 35 inches. Now for the facing on the arm side, I've joined by 1/4 inch and notched. Okay, turn it to the right side and iron properly. The easiest way to make a top stitch, make sure after folding by 1/4 inch, pin it down before making the top stitch. I've done that on the back piece, and this is how neat it came out. This is what it looks like on the wrong side. You can see how neat it came out. These are the front pieces. I've also attached the facing on the arm side using the same method. Also on the band, I've gone ahead to sew from the neck depth, which is the 10.5 inches, down to the 35 inches I marked. And I made sure to sew on the midpoint. Now the next thing I am going to do is to attach it to the bodice. Okay, placing the opened edges on the right side. As you can see, I am going to align the shoulder and pin it down. I'll be sewing by ½ inch down to the hem, following the shape. Okay, so after attaching this way, I'll turn it over, as you can see me do. Align the shoulder, pin it down, and also sew on ½ inch down to the hem, following the shape. I've done that, and this is how beautiful it came out. So after stitching, I make sure to press it down to keep it in place. So you can go ahead and make a top stitch if you like. So this is the slit. Okay, this is how beautiful it came out. That is it for the front piece. I'll keep it aside. working on the back piece, I'll be using this band, which is 1.5 inches on fold. So I cut out 2 pieces. As you can see, I'll open them up this way, placing the right sides together and aligning the midpoint. I'll align the neckline this way, aligning the midpoint and marking out the V shape as shown. And I am going to sew right on the guideline. After doing that, I'll trim out the excess as shown. Turn it to the right side. This is what it looks like. So I'm going to join it by 1/4 inch, as you can see me do. This is what it looks like. Now I am going to be attaching it on the neckline on the bodice. So I'll place the midpoint this way, this part that I stitched on the midpoint of the neckline, and pin it down. And I'll sew by 1/2 inch. So when I get to the midpoint here, I am going to raise the foot, turn it over and continue to sew by 1/2 inch. After doing that, this is what it looks like. You can go ahead and press it down to keep it in place. Okay, I'll cut out the excess this way, and I am going to make a top stitch from this point down to this point. After making the top stitch, this is what it looks like. So the last thing I am going to do is to attach the front and the back pieces. I'll place the right sides together this way. Join the shoulder by 1/2 inch and then join the side seams by 1 inch. After joining the side seam, I'll go ahead and hem. I've done that. I've joined the shoulder and the side seam, so make sure the bands are aligned, as you can see. So this is how really beautiful it came out. I've also hemmed. We have come to the end of this tutorial. If you find this helpful, kindly give this video a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly give this video a thumbs up, click on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.